We don't need to spend any more time arguing what an alpha is. They don't exist. Alpha male and beta male, those are slang names for men. They're memes. They're caricatures. To me, alpha is the highest combination of qualities that you're capable of in any given moment. Stop projecting your shadow onto other men that you believe are weaker than you. Instead, get aligned with the highest energy. The alpha is inside you. It's one part of you. So let's talk about dominance hierarchy in the many parts of you. Which leader is running the show when we say alpha up? It means to call forward the generous king. Dominate your low value, lower level, ignorant, selfish, greedy, and ego-driven default trashy ass behavior. When you were producing good, that's alpha. When you're acting out of love, that's alpha.
If you're a man that controls his own destiny, a man that is always in the pursuit of being better, you are in the right place. You are responsible. You are strong. You are a leader. You are a force for good. Gentlemen, this is the Alpha Quorum.
Welcome back to the Alpha Quorum Show. Brad Singletary here. I'm on this microphone solo here today with a message that is pretty important to me. So I'm the founder of the Alpha Quorum, and I have done pretty much everything that you've seen behind the scenes, all of the things that we've ever really produced. It's pretty much me behind the scenes of that. So I just wanted to talk about a topic that has been kind of controversial, and that is about the term alpha. You are not an alpha, and neither am I. Alpha is not a status. It's a state of energy. It's behavior. It's a collection of actions in any given moment. It's about dominating yourself, not others. It's about winning the competition with your own base and lower frequency habits. To me, alpha is the highest combination of qualities that you're capable of in any given moment. So, a little history on this. Alpha is, of course, you've heard this stuff before. Alpha is used in the sciences to describe the biggest and baddest and most brightest and powerful thing in a group. That might include things from the alpha male, from the study of primates, to alpha stars in the constellations of astronomy. Well, bro, we're not chimpanzees. In primates and wolves and in other animals, there's a designation of one in the group as the quote unquote alpha male. And that labeling has sadly carried over to a description of dominant acting men. And I just want to clarify our position on the term alpha. Alpha male and beta male, those are slang names for men. They're memes. They're caricatures. The beta is often seen as a guy who is not assertive or stereotypically masculine and is disregarded by women. And people use that term as a derogatory identifier. Prior to around the 1990s, the alpha and beta terms were pretty much exclusively used for animals, particularly in relation to mating privileges with females, the ability to hold territory, like the food intake hierarchy within the herd or the flock. So in the animal world, a beta animal is one that is submissive to higher ranking members of the social order, meaning that it must wait to eat and has fewer or no possibilities for mating. Frans de Waal, who was a primatologist and ethologist, claimed in his 1982 book, Chimpanzee Politics, that his observations of a chimp colony could be applied to human interactions. Some reviews of that book, including one in the Chicago Tribune, compared it to human power structures. Some of the media outlets began to use the term alpha male, particularly referring to manly males who succeeded in business. And then a best-selling book in 2005 called The Game, which is a pickup artistry book by Neil Strauss, is credited with popularizing the alpha male as an aspirational ideal. But the caricature of the alpha male often consists of the careless, loudmouth breeder on a conquest for bedding bitches with a flashy, ego-centered pickup artist, narcissistic style. And he uses and manipulates people for a self-serving end. This is not what we are about. Pretty much the opposite. We're also not interested in categorizing dudes in some ranking system, talking about alpha and beta based on like their ability to excite people or their sexual market value. There's plenty of persuasive and attractive men out there with captivating styles, and they only do harm with their powers. That shit ain't alpha, and it's not what we're about at all. Competitive, capable, wealthy, attractive, powerful dudes aren't bad, but those kind of stereotypical traits or alpha expressions aren't all that is required to be counted among the best of men. Because what about integrity and responsibility and good judgment? The strongest of men have power, but have all of their powers in check. They are regulated against arrogance and pride and the use and misuse and abuse of people. The ability to love is probably my own simplest definition of what it means to be alpha, the ability to love. But alpha is not an identity. It's an attitude which leads to actions, which leads to the development of attributes which increase and improve as we evolve in our lives. Alpha is about excellence. And excellence is the highest quality that you are capable of producing on this day. There is neither a comparison nor any sort of contest. This is not a club for show-offs and cocky dudes looking to entertain other people, but mostly themselves. I want to talk for a minute about Quorum. I created the logo and all of the branding and all of the websites and all of the things that go along with the Alpha Quorum. And initially, the word alpha was huge. The letters were big, and in really small letters underneath was Quorum. Well, I didn't like the font, and after a couple of years, I thought it needed a little bit of an update. But I changed it to include alpha is very small, and Quorum are the big letters. Well, what is this about? What is this idea of quorum? It comes from Robert's Rules of Order. It generally has to do with like political processes or voting. Let's say there's a meeting or a committee of people in the political process. In order for a vote to take place, a certain number of people called a quorum need to be present in order for the vote to be valid. That guards against misrepresentation, and that prevents taking things in a direction that the body of people would not be happy with. So this group isn't about the alpha, it's about the quorum. My belief is that if you don't have a quorum, a tribe of trusted men who you consult with on the business of your life, you're missing out. You're probably screwing up. We are weakest when we are isolated. We make the worst decisions alone. If you think about it, think about your worst decisions. Think about the worst period of your life. You didn't have dudes to talk to. You didn't tell the truth about what you were doing. You didn't let people know of your plans to end this relationship. You didn't tell people about your decision to file bankruptcy. You didn't tell people about the bonehead shit that you were about to do, probably because of fear and shame, and you didn't have those relationships to start with. We're not monkeys, bro. We're not wolves. So stop comparing yourselves to other dudes. If you are hiding in the shadows and noticing all the powerful men that you would call alpha, stop projecting your own hidden and dormant badassery onto other guys. Instead, pull out your own and use it. Stop projecting your shadow onto other men that you believe are weaker than you. In fact, just stop with this kind of judgment at all. Instead, get aligned with the highest energy within you. The chimpanzees who dominate other chimps is the alpha because it doesn't have a self to dominate like us higher humans have. he lives on instinct. His goals are territory. His goals are mating privileges. He's thinking about food. And even if some animals out there have some kind of complex psychic structures that you might compare to conscience, there's nothing like the abilities that we have to make good decisions based on conscience. But if mating is the outcome you want to measure, then yes, by all means, go do all the animal shit. The peacocking, the grunting, all the things that the animals do to call in a mate. I think a lot more of you than what you can do with your dick, and I hope that you do too. Our minds and hearts are made of parts. And we have more than one way of being. Like, think about how you behave when you're dating on, let's say, a first date versus how you behave at work or at the gym. Think of your differences when you sit pondering the dark details of your past versus when you're walking on the beach with a loved one on vacation. There's a part of you that is gentle and easygoing and tolerant, and part of you that is aggressive and angry and fierce. The situation you're in is how you know which part to engage. Hopefully, if you have it figured out. Being alpha is different if you're holding a baby versus if you're trying to win a competition. How do you alpha when you're holding a baby? Well, hopefully with some confidence and skill and the ability to soothe and comfort this child, not being afraid to sing to him or too embarrassed to dance around and afraid that you can't rock them to sleep. You're comfortable. You're confident. You're having an alpha moment. If you're afraid of holding a baby, that's not your highest form of energy. I know dudes who can't hold their own children because they're afraid. Get it figured out. How do you alpha in an athletic event or a motorcycle race? You're prepared. You have the best equipment possible. You have a strategy. You've taken every possible measure to have a competitive edge, and you're having an alpha day. You're having an alpha month or week, or having an alpha season. We have these archetypal energies embedded in us that have been passed down through both nature and nurture. And we've talked about this in some previous podcasts, but we're borrowing here from the work of Carl Jung, who says that inside we all have the energies of kings and also the shadow side of that, tyrant and weakling. We have the energy of warriors and also the shadow of sadist and masochist. We have the energy of magicians as well as the shadow side of manipulators and dummies. We have the power and the energy of lovers, as well as the shadow side there of addicts and impotent lovers. We all have alpha energy in us too. And we also have energy of selfish punk ass bitches who are afraid of our own shadow and don't know our ass from a hole in the ground. In every given moment, we either embody alpha energy, which is the highest form of ourself. We embody that in its fullness, or we live in some shadow form of the upside down shadow on a long continuum of polar opposite energies. And we can be both. We can swing back and forth from one to the other. Show me a brave soldier, and I'll show you a guy who sometimes cries like a baby. Show me a physician, and I'll show you someone who sometimes indulges in the most disgusting and unhealthy habits. Show me a nice guy, and I'll show you a man who will become a raging and abusive monster. Show me a pastor, and I'll show you someone with an evil side, a wicked, carnal, deviant, devilish, sinful side, which, of course, he has to hide for the sake of his job. So none of you dudes have arrived at some alpha state. I haven't either. That's for damn sure. There's no such arrival at no such destination. There is only the arduous journey of continuing to try to stay in a state of both love and reason, of both leadership and humility, of enthusiasm and respect, of courage as well as compassion. You and I have behaved in alpha ways before. We have acted on our highest energy at times. We've operated from the highest possible qualities within us. And you and I have also acted out of little beta bitch energy more often than not, taking the lead, taking direction from the inferior reasoning in our inferior selves. So we have alpha moments. There have been times when you experienced and expressed and acted out of pure alpha energy. You were decisive and bold and loving and strong and influential and fun and fierce all at the same time. We can say that we are a man. We can say that we are men. We cannot say that we're alpha. So often the alpha at work is a whipping boy at home, or the whipping boy at work is the bully at his own house. I heard a wife say one time about her husband that she was cheating on, that you're either an alpha or not. I don't think that's true. If we're talking about the ability to attract reproductive mates, then maybe yes. But even then, the age and health and mobility and the effects of financial standing and so many elements can change the state of the natural alpha to a less desired, less valuable consumer instead of a producer. So this isn't a permanent, unchanging status. We're up and down with our energy. We're up and down with our integrity. A man may have instinctual propensity toward leadership or enthusiasm or flamboyance or dominance in some fashion, some type of dominance. But he isn't always that, and neither is the so-called beta always weak. Our alpha states are fluid and they fluctuate like our weight, our mood, our hunger. It's not static and permanent like our height and not irreversible like our age. So what are we all about up in here in the Alpha Quorum? We're about this. Grown-ass man evolution. We're about support, education, community, unique experiences, resources, and expanding influence. We believe that men evolve by engaging with other dudes to improve their attitudes, actions, and attributes. We've done entire podcasts on each of these before. We're going to continue to talk about it. Here are the Red 9 attributes: responsibility, resourcefulness, reverence, energy, engagement, endurance, discipline, discernment, and distinction. The alpha state is all about life. You have a life. You are adventuresome and bold. Maybe you're a mover and a shaker. You're healthy in every respect. You create life, not by breeding, but by showing up with some love and energy. People want to be around you because you elevate them with your presence. Just being there makes it feel good. Your purposes are unselfish. There's a lot of smooth, charismatic guys who can do those things, but if the purpose isn't unselfish, not alpha, if you ask me. And lastly, that you preserve life. You protect people. You help maintain their security, and that is more important to you than your own security. So it's about life. You have life. You create life. You preserve life. And why this whole thing exists, it's to connect you with men so that you can improve your attitude. You got to take better actions. And as you do that, your attributes change and you begin to operate from alpha qualities more often. I want to talk about the dominant part of you. That's what, to me, alpha is. The alpha is not a man in a room who's better. The alpha is not the most attractive person. The alpha is the dominant part inside you. Don't dominate other people, dominate yourself. Dominate your low value, lower level, ignorant, selfish, greedy, and ego-driven default trashy-ass behavior. The alpha is inside you. It's one part of you. So let's talk about dominance hierarchy in the many parts of you. Which leader is running the show in the control room, the cockpit, the central command station inside of your head and your heart? When we say alpha up, that doesn't mean go around waving your dick at people and revving the engine with your little rattling fart can on your import at the red light. It means to call forward the high priest in your head, the generous king, the wisest member of the team of archetypes inside you. It means you're not hiding in shame ever. And you can be both rowdy and outrageous, as well as humble and grateful. Don't be a high chair tyrant. Be a benevolent king. Don't be a sadistic bully. Be a warrior fighting for good things with the least amount of casualty. Don't be a manipulative trickster. Be a magician who gains and shares specialized knowledge, teaching others your tricks. Don't be an addict who is compulsively chasing destructive forms of stimulation. Be a lover who can engage fully in the sensual and the sensory moments of life. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." We don't need to spend any more time arguing what an alpha is. They don't exist. Only behaviors that produce either good or evil. Only motives that are driven by love or fear. Think about yourself. Think about your behavior. When you were producing good, that's alpha. When you're acting out of love, that's alpha. You're acting out of fear, which is most of our negative qualities, most of our anger, most of our bullshit is coming from fear. If you know that you're capable of more, you need men around you who can mentor you and tell you when you're being dumb. Every time I've worked with a man who was cheating on his partner, he had 0 friends. Or 0 friends who were headed anywhere excellent. If you want this for yourself, get in touch with me and I'll show you how to do this. We have the private Facebook group. We have a Discord server. We have Zoom group meetings. I would like to help you know how you can organize some things in your neighborhood so that you can get together with other men and you have this understanding that you need me and I need you. And that kind of community, that camaraderie and that brotherhood could save your life. Hey, if you like what we're doing, give us a like and a follow. Leave us a rating and review. Share this where you can. This is important to me. And I'll tell you briefly why this is important to me. Number one, men are isolated. Some research out of England several years ago said that 50% of men, and I'm sure that's true everywhere, 50% of men do not have a best friend or even a close friend. When you look at the statistics about suicide and imprisonment and substance abuse, all of those things are happening predominantly to men. There was a time in my life where I made terrible, terrible decisions. That's when I myself was not engaging with other men. I wasn't sharing. I wasn't listening. I wasn't hanging out. I didn't go to the campfire and didn't go on trips, and I didn't have lunch or breakfast with anyone. And I made the worst decisions ever. 5 years ago, my wife's brother died by suicide. He was an Afghanistan veteran. I believe that part of his trauma was the isolation that he felt. He spent years serving with other men, serving around other dudes, having cool equipment, having trips and missions and things that they did together, all supporting each other. And then suddenly that stopped. He took his life at 25 years old. I've been working for 24 years now in behavioral health. I work as a therapist and a counselor and a coach. And what I see is men who are weaker, Men are too soft. Sometimes men are too strong and too hard. And I think one of the most important elements to growth and evolution is working with other dudes. Have a person as a mentor to say, hey, can I count on you to bounce things off of you here and there so that you have one person that you can have as a mentor? And then build a smaller tribe of people, maybe 6 to 8 guys, maybe 3. You've got a text thread that you just know, hey, we don't have to hang out all the time. We don't have to be buddies. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But for sure, when there's something going on, I have several friends that I contact pretty much every time my wife and I have a fight. Why would I do that? Because in the past, I've done dumb shit. I've gone to jail for it. So I need to check in with my quorum. Remember, that means that there's a minimum number of people who are there to make the decision. So as you make decisions, I don't mean everything, but when significant things are going on, when you're dealing with emotion, when you're dealing with painful stuff, when you're dealing with other people or hard to navigate situations, check in with some dudes that you've been helping them out with their stuff and that you have a brotherhood together. If you need help to know how to do that, contact me. I'll give you some tips on how you might do that. But first, join us on Facebook. Join us in the Discord server. You can participate in our Zoom meetings that we have on Sundays. We're going to add more to those. You guys, we don't need to spend any more time arguing what an alpha is. They don't exist. Only behaviors that produce good or evil. Only motives that are driven either by love or by fear. Think about where you're at, check yourself, and until next time, no excuses. Alpha up.
Gentlemen, you are the Alpha, and this is the Alpha Quorum.